Click, call, or visit a Spectrum store today.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Good Wednesday morning. I'm Robert Guadarrama. Here is your Spectrum News in 90. The Trump administration is shrugging off an accidental leak of military plans to a journalist. The White House says it is still working to figure out how the journalist was added to a Signal group chat where senior intelligence officials were discussing attack plans. The House Intelligence Committee will question these officials today over global threat and the leak. President Donald Trump signs 2 executive orders, one of which aims to put new requirements on elections. It requires proof of citizenship to register to vote. It also requires all mail-in ballots to be received by Election Day. The other measure orders the release of documents surrounding the FBI's 2016 investigation into the Trump campaign and any possible ties to Russia. Wildfires have killed at least 24 people in South Korea. Officials say high winds have caused the flames to grow, forcing more than 27,000 people to evacuate areas in the southern part of that country. South Korea Emergency Response Center says the wildfires are some of the largest in the country's history. It's been 1 year since a container ship crashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. 6 construction workers were killed during the collapse. Construction on a new bridge is expected to start this fall. And that's a look at your Spectrum News at 90 for this Wednesday morning.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your weather on the ones forecast. We are halfway through the week and we've got big changes coming to our weather pattern. Keeping a small chance for some snow showers for parts of the Great Lakes in the Northeast as we transition into the first half of the day today. Don't expect any significant snowfall totals as we reach the end of the day today, but the risk for severe thunderstorms will start to ramp up starting today in the Pacific Northwest. We'll talk about that in more detail coming up in 10 minutes on your weather on the ones.
The White House says a leak of military plans was merely a mistake, and criticism against its intelligence officials is, quote, very unfair. Hello, good morning. Thank you for starting your Wednesday morning with us here on Spectrum News. I'm Robert Guadarrama. Bree has the morning off. The leak involves a group chat between senior-level officials in the Trump administration on the encrypted messaging app Signal. The editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, was accidentally added to the chat where officials were discussing strike plans on Houthi rebels in Yemen. Today, Trump administration officials will appear before the House Intelligence Committee to answer mounting questions regarding the chat. Spectrum's Angie Gonzalez joins us now from Washington with more. Angie, good morning. What more can you tell us about today's hearing?
Well, Robert, House members are questioning 2 top intelligence officials of the 18 that were involved in that group message, and we may get an answer from the new FBI director on whether or not the agency is going to be investigating this as a breach of security. Now, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe are back on Capitol Hill today, this time before a House committee to discuss global threats to America's security. Now, like Tuesday's Senate hearing on the same topic, their testimony was scheduled before the Atlantic dropped this bombshell report that Gabbard and Ratcliffe were on a group chat with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and President Trump's National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, where details about a planned attack on Houthi rebels in Yemen were discussed. Now, after trying to discredit the journalist earlier in the day, Waltz now seems to be taking some responsibility for what happened. Hegseth continues to deny that he shared any classified information in that communication.
I take responsibility. I built the group. Okay. So but look, that's the part that we have to figure out, and that's the part that embarrassing. Yes.
Nobody's texting more plans. I know exactly what I'm doing, exactly what we're directing.
Now, Robert, while President Donald Trump is downplaying the communication which was carried out over the Signal app, we haven't seen really a cohesive message coming from those with the Trump administration on the chat. Some have tried, as we mentioned, to discredit this reporter who was inadvertently added to the chat, while others from the White House have seemingly authenticated that the chat happened, like you heard there from the National Security Advisor. Robert?
Right, we're seeing conflicting statements here. Now, Angie, you talked about the FBI Director, Kash Patel. He was not included in this group chat. Where does he fit into all this?
So he testified with Gabbard and Ratcliffe on Tuesday, and Democratic Senator Mark Warner asked him whether or not the FBI is going to be investigating this as a breach of national security. Now, at the time, Patel said he didn't have an answer for Warner, but the senator said he wanted an update for him by the end of business yesterday. Now, as House Democrats seek their own answers today about these communications, you can expect that they'll be following up on whether or not the FBI will be taking part or taking a role in this. Democrats say their biggest concern in all this is that these war plans and classified details may have been shared over Signal, which is an encrypted form of communication, but it's outside normal government channels where this would be discussed, and it might be vulnerable to surveillance. Robert?
Yeah, we're just seeing the fallout begin. All right, Angie Gonzalez, thank you so much. President Donald Trump signs new executive orders, one of which seeks to overhaul U.S. elections. The order requires proof of citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. It also requires all ballots be received by Election Day. The executive action is likely to face legal challenges. The president also signing an order to declassify documents on the FBI's probe into whether Trump's 2016 campaign colluded with Russia. A special counsel investigation determined there was not sufficient evidence to support the claims. At least 24 people are dead and thousands forced to evacuate as a wildfire driven by is just ravaging South Korea. Spectrum News anchor Jenna Enoch joins me now with the very latest. Jenna, the death toll is just devastating here.
Yes, Robert, it really is. Of the more than 20 killed, one was a helicopter pilot who was killed during efforts to contain the wildfires in a southeastern town of South Korea. Also among those killed, 4 civil servants who were killed while dispatched to fight the wildfires. Now, the dry air, the strong winds are really fueling this fire. More than 10,000 firefighters, police, and civil servants have been deployed to multiple areas in the south since dozens of fires erupted over the weekend. So far, the fires have burned more than 43,000 acres of land, including 200 structures. 27,000 people have been forced to evacuate. A 1,300-year-old temple, considered a major Buddhist landmark, was burned to the ground with its ceremonial bell, the only piece appearing somewhat intact. Some of the artifacts, luckily, that were in the historic site were spared as they were relocated to other temples ahead of the approaching blaze. Robert?
Just terrible. Jenna, as the fires burn in South Korea, there are problems here in the U.S. as well. What can you tell us about that?
Well, Robert, we've been following wildfires in the Carolinas here. They've been burning for days. Dry conditions, wind, and trees downed by Hurricane Helene fueled wildfires in North and South Carolina. Evacuation orders remain in effect this morning. Many people in that area still getting over the hurricane that hit back in September. The North Carolina wildfires are burning in Polk County, which is in western North Carolina. They've burned at least 9 square miles there. There are also fires burning in South Carolina. The 2 large fires there have burned a combined 2.3 square miles. Well, as of now, no injuries have been reported, no structures immediately threatened, but hundreds continue to evacuate to just get to safety. Robert, back to you.
All right, Jenna Enoch staying on top of it for us. Jenna, thank you. Today marks 1 year since the deadly collapse of Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. Early in the morning, a container ship lost power and crashed into one of the bridge's pillars. 6 construction workers who were on the bridge were killed. Maryland Governor Wes Moore says the city is still recovering from the tragedy.
That morning, I knew that Marylanders were hours away from waking up and realizing that not only was around 13% of our economy shut down, but we lost 6 Marylanders that morning. And I made a pledge that very first morning that we were going to bring closure and comfort to the families of the victims.
Construction on the new bridge is expected to begin this fall and could take up to 3 years to complete. With the stroke of a pen, President Trump is trying to dismantle the Department of Education. But the change has some parents worried, including those with special needs children. Reaction coming up on Spectrum News. We'll be right back.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app.
I really am in the middle of nowhere. Every day is different. Chores, come on, homeschooling, and then I fit in the rug business. I just got a new batch of rugs that I'd love to show you. I have a website, and a lot of what I do is sharing my home life. Mommy's leaving. Reliable, high-speed internet is the foundation of our business. Spectrum was great. They went out of their way to make sure that I was okay and I was taken care of. Shoo! And that's the awesomeness of having Spectrum.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm meteorologist Mel Carpenter with your Weather on the Ones forecast. As we transition into the second half of this week, we're going to start to see more of an active weather pattern taking shape in a few spots across the lower 48, including the southern plains, and starting today across the Pacific Northwest, where we have a risk for some strong to severe thunderstorms to take shape. Doesn't look like much for now, but this moisture coming in from the Pacific is going to work its way and tap into some instability, and we'll have some strong to severe thunderstorms possible as we get towards the evening hours today. So you'll notice there is a level 2 slight risk from Seattle down through Portland and portions of Oregon as well throughout the day today. So this is a low-end threat, but we are monitoring the threat for some damaging winds and hail. Large hail is certainly a possibility given the conditions that we're expecting across this part of the country. And we'll break it down for you with futurecasts. You'll notice we'll stay pretty quiet through around lunchtime. The moisture comes in from the Pacific, and as we get into the evening hours, that's where we're going to see some of those scattered showers and severe thunderstorms really starting to ramp up, and perhaps some supercells capable of producing some isolated, weaker tornadoes in this part of the country. As we transition into our Thursday, though, we're going to see more moisture coming in from the Pacific, and this is just going to be flat out light to moderate rainfall across this area. And we'll see around 2 to 4, maybe even 5+ inches of rainfall by the time we get towards the end of the week. And of course, with this moisture moving into some of the higher elevations, we're going to see several inches of snowfall as a result of this as well. So definitely turning quite unsettled across the Pacific Northwest. Elsewhere, though, we have warm temperatures in store for us, low 80s across the Dallas region and down along the Gulf Coast as well. We're going to see a nice warm up in our temperatures heading into the day on Thursday as well, rising into the 80s in Kansas City, 82 in Memphis, and staying in the upper 60s in portions of the Carolinas as we head into Thursday and Friday. But that warm up is going to be around as we transition into the end of the week, into this weekend. Take a look at this. We're going to be about 20 degrees above the average in Kansas City on our Thursday, and then by the time we get towards Friday, about 25+ degrees above the average across the Great Lakes region. But I mentioned we do have a risk for some strong to severe thunderstorms as we head into the weekend. We'll talk about it coming up.
Here's a look at what you need to know this Wednesday morning. Top intelligence officials from the Trump administration will face the House Intelligence Committee today, days after a bombshell report showing military plans were accidentally leaked to a journalist. The White House has attempted to downplay the incident, saying it was a mistake and no classified material was shared in the Signal group chat. President Trump signs an executive order aiming to overhaul elections. It requires proof of citizenship in order to register to vote in federal elections. It also demands all ballots be received by Election Day. Several senior leaders at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention are leaving the agency. It includes directors of the Public Health Infrastructure Center and the National Center on Birth Defects and Developmental Disabilities. The CDC is facing a reduction in workforce and funding due to government cuts, which could top 30%. Earlier this week, President Donald Trump nominated the CDC's current acting director, Dr. Susan Menares, to lead the agency. The president of the University of Pennsylvania says federal funding cuts are jeopardizing life-saving research. J. Larry Jameson says $175 million was cut to fund research on chemical warfare and quantum computing. The cut was made because the administration alleges the school wasn't in compliance with President Trump's ban on transgender student athletes. Jameson says the university has been in total compliance with the order and NCAA rules. New fallout over plans to dismantle the Department of Education. Parents of students with special needs are particularly worried about what happens next. Spectrum's Stephanie Escobar has reaction.
He's 6'4".
Kai Brown smiles when she talks about her 17-year-old son, DJ.
He's very in tune with people's emotions. He's good at computers. He's good at being DJ.
We met DJ in 2023. He was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and is considered nonverbal. For 5 years, DJ has been in a Gaston County public school serving students with special needs.
Because he's in an environment of like-minded people and people that are like him, that understand him, he's able to be, and they understand.
A day after President Donald Trump signed an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education, Brown is uncertain how this will impact her son.
We're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs.
What does that mean? There's like no real clarity on what is going to happen and what's being done.
Moms for Liberty Mecklenburg chair Brooke Wise, who attended the executive order signing, says the potential change is good news.
Education is not a one-size-fits-all, and it's going to work better, give more power to the states and to the school boards.
Congress must act to dismantle the Department of Education, but President Trump is already saying which agencies could take over its core programs. For example, the Department of Health and Human Services would oversee programs involving students with disabilities, but this doesn't ease Brown's concerns.
I can't believe what you say because I see what you do.
Wise says she understands people are nervous about it, but federal funding, including grants for programs for children with disabilities, is not going away.
I'm not concerned at all. The funds are still going to come through, probably with less strings attached.
Brown still worries about the possibility of federal funding cuts.
Education overall is important, and educationally the country will struggle because we don't value the educators from the beginning. All I can do is hope and continue to believe that what is stated is what will be done.
Stephanie Escobar, Spectrum News.
Democratic Representative Jasmine Crockett could be censured over comments she made about the governor of Texas. At an event over the weekend, Crockett referred to Greg Abbott as Governor Hot Wheels. Crockett denies she was referencing the wheelchair he uses and claims she was talking about his use of vehicles to transfer migrants out of the state. Republican Representative Randy Weber says he's planning to introduce the censure resolution today. Abbott was paralyzed in 1984 after a tree fell on him while he was running. Could there be an upside to tariffs? We'll introduce you to a business owner who is finding a silver lining just ahead on Spectrum News.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
Starting a business is hard. You have to stay connected at all times.
As we've been growing the studio, Spectrum's been there every step of the way. I'm always able to make the phone call that I need. I'm able to shoot that text message or that email. Every vital piece of equipment that we have here uses Spectrum.
Fast, reliable internet, starting at $40 a month, backed by the Spectrum commitment to keep your business connected.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Good Wednesday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Weather on the Ones forecast. As we reach the second half of this week, we're going to be turning quite unsettled in the central United States. Doesn't look like much activity for now, but as we carry over into Thursday and Friday, we're going to see a lot of moisture coming in across southern Texas as a slow-moving storm system tracks into this part of the country. And this is going to bring a moderate risk for excessive rainfall, which does include the Corpus Christi region. This is through tonight, and we're going to see this risk carry over into our Thursday as well. And that's when I'm expecting most of the rainfall across this part of the state as well. This area in red could easily see over 8 inches of rainfall. And considering how dry it's been to start 2025, we have extreme to exceptional drought conditions that have been ongoing across Texas over the last several weeks. And anytime you have too much rainfall too quickly, we are going to get some flooding concerns. So we have flash flood watches already in effect across those areas highlighted under that moderate risk for excessive rainfall all the way through Friday morning. And once we get into Friday afternoon and evening, I think we'll start to dry out completely with our weather pattern across Texas. So we will get a break from this, but it is going to be a very unsettled 24, 48 hours in southern Texas. And that's just one component associated with this particular setup. We also have an level 2 slight risk for a severe thunderstorm or two, where we could see some damaging winds producing some isolated tornadoes as well. That cannot be ruled out. And then a separate storm system across the Midwest could also bring down some damaging wind gusts north of 60 plus miles per hour. So keep that in mind, and we are going to keep that risk for severe thunderstorms into this upcoming weekend across the Midwest and into the eastern coast. And I'll touch on that here in just a moment. But with Futurecast, we're going to see that moisture coming in, working its way across southern Texas, and then it's really going to be locally heavy right along the Gulf Coast as we head into the day on Thursday. This is Thursday evening, and notice that rainfall still with us, adding up to around 4 to 6 inches in some of those communities. And then our another storm system is going to work its way into the Midwest. Going to be pretty disorganized in nature. Not really expecting a major severe weather outbreak by any means across the Midwest, but this moisture is going to carry over to the eastern portions of Texas and eventually into Louisiana as we head into the end of the day on Friday. But as far as rainfall totals go, as I mentioned before, the Gulf Coast of Texas and over towards the Pacific Northwest is where we can expect most of the rainfall across the lower 48 over the next 7 days. But I mentioned that risk for severe thunderstorms is going to continue into this weekend. We keep a level 2 slight risk at a minimum across Sunday into Sunday night in the Midwest, and this carries over into the eastern coast by the time we get towards Monday.
It is still too early to tell how the tariffs imposed by the Trump administration will impact the economy in the long term. While studies show they will put a strain on consumers and the supply chain, some business owners believe they will increase profits. Spectrum's Jamie Kennedy explains why.
Get the tanks fully installed.
As production ramps up at this new facility producing lithium-ion battery components, CEO of the company Sparks, Sanjeev Malhotra, says the new tariffs on countries like China by the US is frankly music to his ears.
When I first heard about the tariffs, I went and got myself a very nice bottle of wine.
All joking aside, Sanjeev says China's dominance in lithium-ion batteries, which powers things like electric cars, makes something like tariffs essential for helping US companies like his compete in the market needed to electrify the country for the future.
We need to have an advantage so that we do not have other countries basically dump at a low cost when the industry is in the nascent stages.
Sanjeev says their raw materials are domestically sourced and manufacturing is also done in the US too. The company is in phase 1 producing cathode material, which is around 40% of a battery, with plans to expand to cells and full battery packs soon. He supports the current 20% tariff on Chinese imports and hopes it increases.
As I said, this industry is starting off in the United States. And it's not just Sparks, it's various other players. So for all of us, essentially, tariffs provide us that window for us to scale up.
But while Sanjeev can see the positive side of the tariff war, economists say overall tariffs are not good for the economy, especially the on, then off, then on again tariff roller coaster, says Professor of Economics at UC Davis, Christopher Meisner.
Every industry is going to see some damage from this. I can't see a positive business case for such uncertainty and changing policies.
As far as bringing manufacturing jobs back to the US, that again is something Christopher says he is skeptical about.
American manufacturing jobs have gone down, but productivity looks pretty good. It's due to automation more than trade.
Sanjeev says interest in domestic battery products has meant they are expanding the business in other states, and his business is already seeing positive effects from the tariffs.
And as we speak here, my sales folks are in discussions with at least a dozen customers who are saying that they were buying from overseas, they were buying from Asia, from China.
And while Sanjeev says he knows he may be an outlier, the new business, he says, may not have come about if not for the tariffs. Jamie Kennedy, Spectrum News.
Talk about a blast from the past. It's a file-sharing platform that changed the music industry forever. Now Napster has a new owner. Tech startup Infinite Reality bought the service for $207 million. The company hopes to transform Napster into a platform where artists can connect with fans. The site will create virtual 3D spaces to allow fans to attend concerts. It will also sell exclusive digital and physical merchandise and experiences. Wow, haven't heard the name Napster in a few decades. I'm Robert Guadarrama. Thank you for watching. We sure appreciate you. We're always here for you at Spectrum News. Your News in 90 is up after a short break. We're back in 2 minutes.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
It's game time at the arena, and 20,000 fans are looking for a win. With an ultra-high-speed network and seamless Wi-Fi, fans can get in the door fast and share the game's best moments in real time. And with Spectrum Business committed to keeping them connected 100% of the time, they won't miss a second of the action. A secure, reliable connection from Spectrum Business means the fan experience is a guaranteed win.
Sometimes in life, in order to move forward, it helps to look back. To learn from the pioneers and trailblazers.
to gain inspiration from those who came before us.
To show us what it means to act with empathy and to show that love has no labels.
Join WWE and Love Has No Labels throughout the year in celebrating people from all communities and heritages.
Because when love has no labels, that's a love we can all fight for.
Women are bad with money. That's what the world's been saying for centuries. But now we've got something to say.
Save it. It's time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Until we're no longer 80% more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
Save it.
The falsehoods, the feelings of fault. Then, the funds. Learn how to save for your retirement at WeSaySaveIt.org.